Time for 3 of 32 with Elliotte Friedman. Brought to you by the first ever GMC AT4 lineup. Friedge, did you see the Clayton Kershaw stuff today? Do you want to weigh in on it? Because it seems to be the debate of the day in the sports world. 80 pitches, perfect through 7 in his first start since returning from injury.
Did I see that Kershaw took the heat off the team?
Yes.
He took the high road, but he also said, he didn't say that he wanted out. He just said he took the high road and said, I would have liked to have finished. So he left that in the air. Like, did he want out was never answered.
Well, when it first happened, I think I had the same reaction as everybody else. I don't think that kind of thing is good. It's kind of like if a guy had 8 points in an NHL game and he got stapled to the bench for the last 10 minutes. Yeah. I'd be doing what the bleep too. I would be sitting there saying, I don't want to see that, and nobody else wants to see that either. I didn't like it. I thought Kershaw really did a nice job for the Dodgers there in terms of at least deflecting some of the heat. But I generally think that that's not where we should be going. And I think it is one of the reasons, like, I love baseball. I'm a huge baseball fan. I'm very excited about the ratings that the Blue Jays have gotten so far early in this year. But I do think that the sport has a big problem. Like, my father is a chartered accountant, and all he cares about is numbers. And I said, I hate people that run things like that. So I'm probably with most people.
This is, I know it's an analytical debate and people just get mad. Like, Ken Reed is going to go absolutely ballistic a little later tonight when he sees this, because he is like, are you kidding, getting out at 9? But let me just read off the context, Friedge, before we move on, and tell me if this sways you in any way, shape, or form. So he missed the playoffs with forearm and elbow injuries. This was his first start since that time. He's 34 years old. It was 3 degrees Celsius in Minnesota today. Hasn't pitched 200 innings in 6 years. Missed significant time each of the last 2 years. It was a shortened spring. He went from 7 years and $215 million to 1 year and $17 million. And it's World Series or bust for this LA team. Does any of that sway your opinion? And I don't expect it to. I'm just providing the nuance and context so often lost in these Twitter arguments.
Well, that's why the first thing I said was what Kershaw brought up in the postgame when he said, look, it was a short spring, and he said, blame the lockout. I think that's very legitimate. So it does. Like, it is a factor. But you know what the problem is, Tim, is that one of the reasons I think the reaction is as fierce as it is today is that the sport has gone in that direction overall. Like, you can look at this and you say, the reason everybody got as upset as they did is it's not because this is a one-time thing.
Right.
Like, for example, like, is there a guarantee that if someone started and was in the same situation who maybe had a full spring or maybe had not had the recent injury history, can we say with certainty that he would have stayed in the game and pitched? Yeah. No, we couldn't. Yeah. So I think what this was today was not only about Clayton Kershaw, it's about, like, I always look like how do all the big baseball people on Twitter respond to this? They hated it too because they know that's where the sport is going.
Because baseball's lost its feeling. It has become numbers driven, and there is no feeling, there is no passion, and it's being bled out. I agree with you. Is Johnny?
It's like Blake Snell. It's like Blake Snell in the World Series a couple of years ago.
But that one I completely disagreed with. This one, I looked at all that stuff and said, I can kind of see why they did it. I wanted to see a perfect game too, though. Let me just ask you this: Is Johnny Gaudreau a Hart Trophy finalist this year? Is he going to the awards with the suit on? 100 points, pretty damn nice.
To me right now he is. Yeah. He's in my top 3 right now. I think this is going to be a hard vote. I was talking about this with Jeff this week. I think there's 8 people for 5 spots.
Okay.
And it's Matthews, it's Yossi, it's McDavid, it's Gaudreau, it's Kaprizov, it's Crosby, it's Shesterkin, and I'm worried I'm forgetting somebody. I'm probably
Huberdeau?
I might be,
Jonathan Huberdeau? No.
Oh, Huberdeau, yes. Yes.
Nice,
so it's
Timmy.
8 people for 5 spots. Very good pickup, Tim. And also I really
the
like
board.
the French accent.
Thank
that
you.
was
Appreciate it.
very good.
Yeah.
There's 8 people for 5 spots. We're gonna piss off 3 people here.
Yeah.
At least. And more when the finalists are announced. You know, to me it's not only that Gaudreau has 100 points, it's his even strength points.
Yeah.
He's on pace for the highest total in almost 30 years. And you know, what have we always talked about with Johnny Gaudreau? Well, maybe he's too much of a power play guy. You know, maybe he's a non-playoff guy. And we'll get all those arguments settled in the next couple of weeks. But the fact is, he's scoring at even strength. And that is a big deal. When you're having the best even strength season in 26 years, that's really something.
Yeah, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to act like plus minus is the greatest stat in the world, but when you're plus 56, it tells you a little something, right?
Yeah, those are like 1980s numbers. Those are close to 1980s Edmonton Oilers numbers. Yes.
I'm glad you threw. Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. Minnesota went through a little bit of a lull, and I kind of threw Kaprizov off my list, but man, have they played well of late. Edmonton found out last night.
See, I don't know where he's going to end up. I don't know if he's going to end up in the top 3 or a lot of people's top 5, but he's in my group. Like, you know, maybe he's one of the people that gets, his family sends me nasty notes in the off season, depending on, you know, where my voting ends up. But I think he absolutely deserves to be in the conversation. He's the best regular season scorer in the history of that franchise, and it's not changing at all. He's a great player.
Jesse and I played Super Stat or Meaningless Number earlier on in the show, and we both brought a similar stat to the table. I'll give you mine because it's the one that I remember. But the Toronto Maple Leafs just fell to 1-3 versus the Buffalo Sabres this year. However, against playoff teams, they are the 3rd best record against playoff teams this year, trailing only Carolina and Colorado. Is that a super stat or a meaningless number?
No, it's a super stat. I think it's legit. I mean, I don't like the way they've played against Buffalo this year for whatever reason. I think Sheldon Keefe was right to call them out on it yesterday. But like, I think Toronto's a good team. You know, I do. We'll find out just how good over the next month.
Yeah.
But I think they are a legitimately good team. And I think they've done a lot this year to try to address whatever weaknesses they have and make themselves better with the space they had available. I think Lyubushkin and Giordano were upgrades on what they had before and made them better than what they have before. Same with Blackwell. You know, like basically, Tim, whoever they play in the first round, real good team's going out early.
Yeah.
A real good team is going out early. And that's the way it is. That's the way the playoffs are set up. And it's not always fair. But as my parents said to me, Elliotte, life's not fair.
Life ain't fair. Just a minute to go here. Who's under, contextually, because obviously Toronto feels like it's the center of the hockey universe, but who's under more pressure to succeed in the postseason? Matthews, Marner, Draisaitl, McDavid, or Johnny Gaudreau, who some in Calgary still think doesn't deserve the contract until he does it in the postseason?
I would say it's probably either Marner or Gaudreau. Just unfortunately the way it's gone for them the last couple of years, and I think also those players would want to answer the questions themselves.
Yeah.
You know, like now there's all this talk about Marner hitting and being a leader in hits. You know, the thing I think about guys like Marner and Gaudreau, Tim, is they are incredibly demanding of themselves. They expect themselves to be great. So when they don't hit that standard, like you think that other people are hard on them? No. They're harder on themselves. So I think they look at it like it's their time and it has to be now.
Freach, always appreciate it. Thanks for hitting the minute right on the absolutely. It said 0-0 when you were done. I appreciate you, buddy.
I'm no Merrick. I don't talk for an extra 6 minutes after the time's up.
There is Elliotte Friedman for 3 of 32.